Following the announcement of major changes coming to the ABRSM Piano syllabus in 2021, I was interested in your reaction to the new proposals, and in this video you may well relate to some of the opinions expressed by my recent MusicOnline UK members Skype hangout. That's coming up next.
MusicOnline UK.
But I was just wondering how you feel about all these new changes. There are going to be 30 pieces per grade, so that's 10 pieces in each list. So is that a good thing, or are you not even going to use it, do you think?
I think it's unnecessary because ultimately when you buy the alternate piece, you end up with a really thick book, and it's actually quite difficult to, turn the pages with a really thick book. And the ABRSM books are much easier to flip over. And I think there's quite a wide choice there anyway.
Do you think it gives enough choice, the selected pieces that you publish? Yeah, what do you feel, Rishabh, Dylan? Do you think the choice is enough?
Yes, sir. Actually, I think the choice were enough before. It was good there.
I mean,
So
has anyone ever used the alternative pieces in previous grades?
Yes, I'll show you the size of it. This is what I had to buy. Let me go and get it.
Okay. Dylan, have you ever used the alternative pieces, or have you always used just the ones that are actually in the main book?
Just the ones that are actually in the main book.
Yeah.
Mostly because we didn't actually know about the alternative pieces until I pointed out there's actually a lot of other ones.
Okay. So do you think you might have done in the past, or just buying loads and loads of books seems a little pointless exercise? What do you think?
Nah, I just feel like keep with the main book.
Yeah. Okay, Rachel, what have you got there?
Right, this is one of the, I think it was in grade 2 or something, I decided to go for an alternative, and this is the volume and this book was incredibly difficult to buy. I bought about 3 incorrect versions. Finally, I got the right one, which was the Record the Sonati album. It must be about 60, no, it's, I lie, it's 85 pages of music, and it's if you have a look trying to open it up, you see how it falls in all the time, and even though I've tried to pull it down, it's incredibly difficult.
Right, so it's not
horrible.
The book is not manufactured in a user-friendly way for reading on the piano. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah. And in that book there was just one piece that you could use, was there, for the alternatives?
Indeed.
Yes. So, well, I mean, it's always good to have lots of repertoire. That's one positive. But I mean, are we playing the piano just to get through exams, or do we want to increase our repertoire? So buying these books isn't a bad thing in that sense, but I don't know, to have them as exam pieces is another question again, isn't it? Now, another change that was announced was the scales. I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest change.
Russian scales.
Yeah, well, that's not confirmed. There are rumours. I've seen a consultation that was made back in November of 2017, I think it was, and they were talking about suggesting the Russian scales. Does everyone know what the Russian scales are?
Yeah.
You just told me today.
Yeah, well, I had a lesson earlier with Dylan this morning. Can you remember how to play a Russian scale, Dylan?
Yeah.
Good. Let's play me a Russian scale that I showed you this morning. I'll put you on the spot now.
I only did really 2, so I can only play C major and yeah.
Okay, let's just do a C major Russian scale. Go on. Very good. You remember that well. I only taught you that this morning. All right. And that's just one example of something that might change. I'm not saying for definite it will be in there, but there are rumours that well, I'll give you the official wording. Let me just look back on my website what it says. All right. The official wording for the changes, although they haven't told us the details, a more realistic and manageable assessment load, with focus instead on technical development and progression. Now, the phrase "a more manageable assessment load" seems like a lot of people in the past were complaining about the total amount of scales, you know, and especially when you get to the higher grades. I mean, Dylan, your list for grade 8 is a very long list. And to play every scale in that list every day, how long do you think it would take you?
Half an hour.
About half an hour to get through every scale, yeah. All right. And Rachel, I think you told me in the past that you spend quite a long time on your scales every day, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you find the list quite long?
No, not at all. No. To be honest, as the grades, I thought honestly from 5 to 6 was very manageable.
All right. And getting up to grade 5, doing all the 12 keys in major and minor, no problem.
I think I mean, I just think it's completely and utterly essential. I don't understand how they can even consider getting rid of all these scales. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what I think they're going to try and do is build up some maybe, okay, for example, in the Trinity syllabus, all right, it starts very, very similar at grade 1, and you have just an F major and a G major, and a D minor and an E minor. So basically, it seems like one flat in major and minor, yeah? And then as you go up through the grades, so let's just pick like a 5, for example, in Trinity grade 5, you have D flat and B major. That's 5 flats and 5 sharps. And then again, B flat minor, G sharp minor, which are the relative minors of those 2 majors. So do you see what they're doing there in the Trinity syllabus? And I don't know if the ABRSM are going to follow this, but they're sort of like adding a sharp each grade. So from 1 sharp, and then grade 2 is 2 sharps, grade 3 is 3 sharps. Yeah, and having the major and minor and flats and sharps as well, obviously. So you'll go through all the scales as you go through the grades, but you won't have them all in one exam. What do you think about that? You still think you'd like to do in grade 5? You think it's a valuable exercise to have them all in one exam, even though you've done them in grades 1 to 4? Would you say that? Yeah? All right. So you think it's a bad move?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Rishabh?
So for me, I think it's a good move because I'm always, you know, sticking in the like scales part. So for me, it's a very good news.
All right. So what was your? I mean, you've just done grade 5, if I remember. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And was your problem just the sheer amount of scales you've got to learn?
Just the fingering pattern. That's my which I forgot every time. So the more skill I practice, and so there are more scales. So I got confused, you know, like what finger do I need to use in C major and what used to use in D major. So it's happened.
Now, is that a question of the amount of time you put in, or do you think there are just too many scales, or are you just lazy?
I think both. I think both follows.
So hold your hands up. You're a little bit lazy, but there are too many scales as well. Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, and a lot of people find scales are the things that they practice maybe not so much. I think we said in a previous one of these Hangouts that a good idea is to maybe start your practice with your scales. Now, I remember back in the days when I did a grade 8, quite a while ago, the first thing I did when I started my piano practice for the day was run through all the scales. All of them, by the way, Dylan. Yeah, and as you say, it took about half an hour. I mean, it was a slightly different syllabus in those days, but quite similar in lots of ways. And just to run through the whole list every day took half an hour. And then that would be my first practice session done, you know, and I would break my practice up into blocks during the day, not just do scales and then the pieces and then everything else. All right, all in one go. Because sometimes I think your brain can get a little bit tired, and physically your muscles can get tired, and you can start letting get tension come in if you practice for too long.
Happens.
Yeah, you find that, do you? Anyone else find that? So when you start getting a little bit tired, you get a little bit more tense, not so relaxed.
Yes. Yeah. We do.
And literally, I do remember this. You know, I was only like 15 years old at the time when I was doing all my grade 8s and everything. but I used to run through all the scales, and there'll get a point where you start to feel a tension come in, and I'd stop. I'd actually stand up from the piano, walk around the room, just relax again, shake off all the tension, you know, and then sit down and carry on. You start seeing that tension coming in, and you're just like, right, got to get off the piano for a minute, get off, relax, stretch, relax, and then start again.
Right.
You know? And this is a little exercise. Yeah, always tension is a bad thing in any instrument, but in the piano specifically. Okay, and then there was one other area. I'm just wondering what you think your reaction is about the, what was it?
Sight reading,
sight reading, I think, is not changing particularly, and the oral test, they're going to be the same. All right, but it is what we call the overlap period, how long the syllabus will be valid for. Now, for people in different countries, I think you, Rishabh, you're in India, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you already have a 1-year overlap?
Yeah, yes, sir, we do have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably the same for Dylan, don't you?
Yeah.
You're in the United Arab Emirates, is it? Or Saudi Arabia? Which one is it?
Saudi Arabia.
You're in Saudi Arabia, sorry. And in Saudi Arabia, you have a 1-year overlap, don't you? But
yeah.
For people like Rachel in the UK, you only get to do an overlap on the first term. Yeah? So do you think it's a good thing now that they brought, I mean, I think Rachel's the best one to answer this because it affects you more than anyone. Do you think it's a good thing that they've made a longer overlap period?
I think they don't have any choice but to do that because of the lockdown. So that would have been grossly unfair for those who stopped, who could not sit the exams, to suddenly do that. They had to extend that. But I don't have an issue with that. I don't think that's going to change anyone's, I don't think that's going to sort of help them in any way, really.
Okay. Now, I don't think it's been very clear on the ABRSM website, but it doesn't say specifically whether that change is a permanent one or just for next year. That would be interesting to find out. Because I can understand what you're saying about the lockdown. Although, all right, if your exam was cancelled this summer, you could still do it in the autumn term, couldn't you?
But no, but like what I've done is I've finished that grade and then therefore gone on to a new grade using the 1920-2020 syllabus. So let's just say I didn't anticipate to finish by the end of the year and they shut that down. Then all that hard work on all those pieces, if I wasn't ready in December, then I would have lost all that work and had to restart a new syllabus. So in that sense, it's difficult, isn't it? So it was only giving myself and ultimately 4 or 5 months to complete the next grade if they didn't do the overlap.
Oh, I see. So you're saying so you're on grade 6 now.
Yeah.
Now, if there hadn't been the pandemic, you'd have probably done your grade 6 when?
No, I'd do it probably in the same time, but I'm going to do it this year. But let's say I wasn't ready, I wouldn't be able to do the pieces in January.
We always used to have a 1-term overlap, didn't we?
Yeah.
So you can still do that. So to give someone 3 years, basically, to learn a piece. Do you think that's necessary? I mean, if you like Rishabh and you, no, I mean,
you know. Imagine being the teacher, the same piece for 3 years. Oh my word!
To be honest, okay, I think sometimes we can become too focused on these 3 pieces for an exam, and that doesn't help us become good musicians. Now, going back to your thing about the book that you bought, and although it's an extra book and maybe not the best produced book in the world for standing up on a piano stand, but the fact that you've got more music isn't a bad thing, is it? More music in the house and more sight reading. All right, so maybe encouraging people to have even more time to stay on 3 pieces is not really helping them to be good musicians, do you think? What's your opinion?
Yes, I don't
for about
a good move. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's a good move.
You
We are
don't?
not. Yeah, it's not good. To like to. So it should be like a year. That's it. So we can if we know that we have 3 years, so we will going to spend very less time on learning those pieces. So I think it's like that.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand in some countries. All right, how many sessions do you have in India in a year?
One session, sir.
One session. So say you started your exams. Well, say you did your exam in what time of year is it? Your session?
November, December.
Right. Okay. So you finish, the current syllabus. You do an exam for grade 6, the 2019-2020 grade 6 exam in December, and then you start your grade 7.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you've already got the books or something. Still, though, you think about it. If you start the grade 7, you still got 2 years to do that, haven't you? So I think it's long enough, really. Yeah. So that's just one little thought about my personal opinion about the extended period for overlap. I mean, have you ever found that it's been useful for you, Rishabh, the overlap period?
No, sir, because I have always used the new syllabus. I haven't used that earlier syllabus before. So my teacher also emphasized me to learn the new syllabus whenever new syllabus came out and the new pieces came up.
Yeah, it keeps you fresh, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and one of the things I've found now, see, a lot of my students couldn't take their exams, and even if they can take them later in the year, maybe in October, maybe they're doing this online assessment in August. That's still, the details haven't come out yet about how that's going to work. But they're going to be playing the same pieces for months longer than they anticipated. Right? So, Rachel, for example, you are getting through your grade 6, but if you had to stay on your grade 6 till next spring.
Oh, no, I couldn't. No.
So what I've suggested to a lot of my students that have got to a certain standard that we're going to take an exam, especially if they're going to take it now in summer and they couldn't, okay, we'll do a mock exam. If I think that that's the sort of standard that would have passed an exam, let's just get on with the next grade. Yeah, because there's no point in just being an exam factory, is there? Right. I think we want to develop as musicians and increase our repertoire, and that's going to help your sight reading. What's the worst part for most people?
The pieces.
Not sight reading. Okay, but in the exam, where were your lowest marks then? Come on, let's be honest.
Sight reading.
Sight reading. Yeah, and Rachel, sorry?
Singing.
In the singing. In the oral tests. Okay. But a lot of people have a problem with sight reading because they do 3 pieces for 6 months and pretty much nothing else. So after a month of learning a piece, you're not even reading it anymore, are you? You're almost got it up there in your memory. Do you think that, Dylan? You're not saying a lot, Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan doesn't have any weak points at all. He's a superstar.
Well, he's worked hard to get to grade 8. Yeah. What would you say your sight reading is like, Dylan?
So I play like 99% of them wrong, and like 1% of them right, and my dynamics are like okay.
Your dynamics are okay. Okay, so you play random notes with the right dynamics. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You get some credit for that, I'm sure. And even if you can get your rhythm right with all the wrong notes, you'll get some credit. But yeah. Okay, how much do you practice sight reading?
5 minutes.
All right, so in your normal practice for the whole week and going on for maybe the last 6 months, have you spent, say, 95% of your time just on 3 pieces?
I did like 35 minutes of sight reading total in 1 week.
Oh, wow. Okay, good. But in general, would you say most of your practice is concentrated on 3 pieces and the same 3 pieces for maybe 6 months or even longer?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the sight reading suffers, isn't it? Yeah, so to give you 3 years, actually 3.5 years.
So like 3 years just doing 1 year for each piece and then a year for everything.
Rishab's just celebrating now. A year for every piece.
Less practice.
Because the syllabus comes out in the summer before you can actually use it.
Right, sir.
So you've got 6 months, then you've got 2 years, and then an overlap year. 3.5 years. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I think that's long enough. Well, too long, really. Yeah?
Yeah.
So those are my opinions on the changes.
I just wanted to add on the exam update. Just be intrigued to find out what you guys thought about the potential, well, the online pieces. So instead of doing it live in front of a strange examiner, strange environment, strange piano, you can do all your pieces and record them. What do you think about that?
Rishabh? Dylan?
Yes, sir.
Well, so me and Mr. Robert talked about this, and like he said, give me recordings of
Yeah,
like,
making recordings and then just sending off an audio recording for an online assessment. Yeah.
but then I was thinking that we need to do it in like one audio recording because
Yes.
then we can
One recording.
Then we can practice one stuff. So like one recording for all 3 pieces.
They haven't made that clear yet, whether they have to be one after the other without a break or 3 separate recordings, but the recording is continuous in itself. They might ask you to do one piece after the other as a set of 3 without a break.
Yeah.
Okay.
And will that be like they can see us physically? Because or else we could send through anybody sending a piece, couldn't we?
Well, yes. I mean, there is opportunity for cheating there, obviously.
Do you think that's how they'll do it?
I don't know if it's just as a reaction to the pandemic or if it's an ongoing thing, because I don't think really audio recordings. I mean, it is open to cheating for a start. And honestly, yes, you can probably perform better when you're not under pressure. Yeah? You agree with that?
Yeah.
All right. But if you want to be a musician, if you want to share your music with other people, I mean, there's no point in learning an instrument if you're just going to play it in your bedroom on your own all the rest of your life, is there? You want to share it with other people. So part of the process is overcoming nerves. What do you think?
Overcoming notes?
Nerves. Overcoming nerves.
Yeah.
Do you think the exam experience and having that pressure of doing something on the day, you know, getting your best performance at a particular moment, like in a concert, is a good experience?
Yeah.
Yeah? And having the option of recording something and then sending it off, you could do 20 recordings and just send the best one, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think, Rachel? You brought the question up. What's your opinion?
Well, I mean, I understand the nerves and performing, but however, when someone's done like potentially a year's work, okay, and a lot of people, when I've been to the exams, I've seen children come out in floods of tears and the parents getting angry with them. And I think their technique and ability is now judged on, say, 10 minutes of their lives, and that's not a true reflection of how they can play. So I'm very happy about everything else can be live, but for the pieces, what is wrong with producing the very best performance you can do in that time span? And then it doesn't matter about that you'll be nervous for the sight reading and everything else, you can go live. But I think the pieces is your life, that's your baby. And if you muck it up in a few minutes because you've got a grumpy examiner or something's gone wrong or you're not feeling well on that day, then you might, get a really bad mark, and that can put students off. And I just think it's about time they did these things like that, a recording.
Yeah, I can understand your point there, and it's a valid argument. I'm just playing devil's advocate in the sense that maybe there is an argument also for getting people used to that pressure if they want to, get into concerts and share their music with other people, because they will have that pressure in life. And you have to be able to perform like that, and not just when you're feeling your best, but in any circumstance, go on a stage and you might be having a bad day and you just got to control those nerves and focus. Yeah, with very young children, you've got to be very careful and just nurture that confidence. I understand that. But there's a balance, isn't there? I see both sides of the argument. Rishabh, you still there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
What do you think?
I think so. The earlier method is good, I think, because you said that we have to perform for others. So I think it is best so we can perform and we can, overcome from that feeling which we are facing from the, like in the front of examiner or in front of other people. So I think it's good, like we playing for other, for the teacher and for the live exam.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say, Rachel, that you might, you're talking about children, but you're talking also a little bit from your own experience, and nerves affect you adversely?
I hate exams with a vengeance. I get so nervous, I literally shake. And, it's not even like I forget anything. It's just sometimes my hand shakes so much that I can't play. I mean, I've got merits nearly all exams. But I don't know how. I think it's the adrenaline's just completely overtaken. So I take beta blockers, and I'm in a state for a month before the exam because I'm absolutely terrified, and I don't know why. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it's getting used to that feeling and knowing what to do with that feeling, isn't it? Which is where sometimes playing in these hangouts in front of other people in unknown situations can help us just gradually get more accustomed to being exposed to that pressure. So Dylan was very brave today, and in the past, Rachel, I know you've given us a little performance of your pieces. Maybe Rishabh, when he's learned his prelude, you're gonna do the same for us in a future date. All right?
Yeah.
Personally, I think music is there to be shared, and it's a very false, like almost abstract experience just to base your ability as a musician on an audio recording. That's my own opinion. As much as I understand the arguments about, nerves can affect you on the day, but isn't that part of the learning process? Possibly. Just putting it out there. as an alternative argument.
You won't get my vote, Rob.
No, well, maybe I will after, you've had a little bit more experience with nerves and what to do with them and how to cope with them. And gradually they'll ease, I mean, I was the same as you when I started, and then through time, you just do it so often, you just get a little bit blasé almost. And, you made a wrong note. Wrong notes, okay, wrong notes, whatever. And you don't even care about it and sometimes the nerves make you make more wrong notes. And the less you can stop worrying about it, the actual better you will play. I think you found the same, haven't you, Rachel? When you get nervous, you start making more mistakes than normal. Is that true?
Yeah.
So we just got to get used to that feeling and learn how to cope with it. Not necessarily with beta blockers, but in just, familiarity with that feeling. It's possible.
Right, they said they're going to have an update on the 25th of May.
I think it's the 21st of May I saw.
Ah, okay, great.
So I'll probably be putting out a video if I see any updates on the website, just informing people that don't read websites.
Ultimately, we're going to have exams again in August then. Is that correct? We can sit an exam in August.
There's something I heard about online exams in August, yeah.
I think it's only in the UK though.
Yes, you're right, Dylan. It's only for the UK at the moment, all right? Which seems a little bit what about the rest of the world? But okay, I suppose there's logistics in organising it, so I understand. Anyway, it's been nice to hang out with you all again this week, and hopefully we'll have a few more people next week joining us, and see you next Friday, if that's okay.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
All the lessons started, so I'll have to call it a day there. But you have a nice weekend, everybody. All right, take care and stay safe.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.